Hi everyone, on this webinar today when we are going to launch the Global Customer Loyalty Report 2022. It's 1 minute past our starting time. We can wait like 30 more seconds, and till that, if you wanted, you could write here on the right in that little chat box where you are calling in from today. It's here on the right, and then there is where you can see chat. And then here, I'm just writing here now, if you wanted. You can also send this to the organizers. Then you can also send this here so everyone can see it. If you wanted to tell where you're from today. And then we will start in a second. I see some people, I see some names popping up already. There is Ahmed from Dubai. There is Chelsea from Dublin, Marco from Italy. Very nice. All right, I think let's dive in. Welcome everyone. Very nice to have you here. It's very exciting for us to organize this webinar because it's a record number of attendees attending. To be honest, an all-time high in Antavo's history. So it's such a nice feeling to see that there are so many people interested in the future of loyalty programs, what the report is about. So it will be like a very interesting and useful content for all of you after you receive this after this webinar. The report will be out tomorrow. This is the beautiful cover that you can now see and later on download the actual content 1 hour after we finish this webinar. Since August and September, we interviewed we surveyed 320 marketing and loyalty leaders, and we analyzed data from 25 million loyalty member actions. It is a lot of work, and we gathered all these insights from all over the world, including the EMEA, APAC, and North America regions. And the report will be out tomorrow, but you, the lucky and attentive ones, will receive this today. Let me introduce our speakers today. Just very quickly, starting with myself, as here I'm the first. My name is Zsuzsa Kecsmar. I'm one of the co-founders of Antavo, and I will be your host today. And now I would like to hand this over to Maciej Kroenke, who is from PwC. So please go on, Maciej, with a short introduction.
Hi, hello, big pleasure. My name is Maciej Kroenke. I'm a partner at PwC Strategy, focusing mostly on the topics of customer loyalty, customer activation, and working on a number of loyalty-related topics across Europe.
And thank you very much. And then over to you, Andreanne Rondeau, Loyalty Specialist.
Yeah, hi, welcome everyone. So Andreanne Rondeau, Loyalty Specialist at Stratex, a partner of Antavo. So we're focusing mainly on loyalty program design and implementation.
Thank you very much. So today's agenda comes as follows. So here on the next slide, you can see that we will talk for 30 minutes today. So basically we will finish in 26 minutes because we know that in today's post-COVID age, it's very hard to attend any call, which is longer than half an hour. So we don't want to waste your time. If you want to just get the content and go on with your day. But for those who wanted to spend a bit more time here, there will be a 20-minute Q&A session where we are very happy to answer any of your questions that you can send us here to the chat so everyone can see, or only to the organizers. It's really up to you which one you want. So we will talk about 3 things. The top 3 learnings from the report. The second is these top 3 ways on how to take action. This is really the tagline of the report because whatever we are figuring out on the future of loyalty, the key is that we need to take action, especially today. 2021-22 will be an inflection point in terms of loyalty, customer loyalty. So the time is now, and then we will go on with Q&A. But before we dive in to the top 3 learnings from the report, I would like to invite you for a little quiz. This is connected to the survey questions. and we wanted to know what is that you think about these things, so we can even compare how the attendees of the webinars think compared to what we surveyed in the report. I really hope that it's somewhat similar. So now I'm launching this poll, and the question here is, do you plan to revamp or update your loyalty program in the next 1 to 3 years? Of course, it is valid to those who do have a loyalty program. And then if you are one who already has a loyalty program, please select one of the followings that you do, like yes or wish to. Wish to can stand for if you don't have the budget just yet, or it's not a decision that it's made, but you would like to do that, or you can select no. I see that many of people already answered. So now I will close the poll and I will share the results. It seems that 87% of people plan to revamp or update their loyalty program in the next 1 to 3 years. All right, that's very nice. Well, according to our numbers, I think it's a very eager audience here who's attending, because our numbers show a bit less. So it says that 71% of current loyalty program owners would like to revamp their loyalty program. It's still a very high number. And there's another interesting number here that says that 75% thinks that it's a challenge to integrate loyalty marketing into the main company strategy. And it's very interesting to see that, because it shows that they would like to do something, but they also acknowledge that it will be very difficult to do. So Maciej, I would like to ask from you, is this something that you also see while you are talking with your clients and companies that you are talking to?
Yeah, thanks for that. And that's a great question. And I would say that's very much in line in what we're seeing in the market. And first of all, loyalty is a always ongoing process. So it always needs to reinvent itself, and it always needs to move forward just to keep the attention and engagement of the customers and the loyalty program members. But if I were to say that last 18 months, that completely changed the way how loyalty programs are working for the companies, because the purchasing patterns changed, because the consumers changed the way how they look, how they want to be contacted. So and also the strategy goals of number of companies have changed. So loyalty being the perfect tool of contacting and managing the relationship with the consumer is one of the most frequently observed, monitored, and redeveloped part of the marketing mix, with probably bigger focus on frequency, but also moving significantly towards the customer experience, personalization, and all of that aspects that actually make the communication way better and way more interesting.
All right, thank you very much. Excellent. We have another chart here, which are about the challenges after 2022. So in the first column, you can see the challenges in Q1 2022, which happened before the big COVID crisis. And then we asked how these challenges changed in 21-23, what people are estimating. So when we were after this initial COVID shock, so we try to take that period out to show more like a reality. And Andreanne, what do you think? What is behind these changes and priorities, and help us understand this chart?
Yeah, well, that's a very interesting findings we have from the report, that chart. Well, first, these challenges tells a lot about the future of loyalty programs, and we see that omnichannel loyalty experience has jumped from the 3rd place to the 1st place. And I mean, that's definitely no stranger to the event of 2020, e-commerce is boosting, and not only in traditional retails, but we've also seen it in industry like grocery stores and restaurants, for example. And companies are thinking of connecting with customer above the online and in-store purchases. They want to connect with their customers on all channels. And to do so, well, they need to collect and leverage data. So we also see that leveraging and collecting data is a rising challenge. And that's no surprise, because loyalty programs are a prime source of data. We can also think that the recent changes in loyalty legislation and the restriction on third-party data may also explain the place that data collection and usage is taking on these tough challenges. And then the last thing that we've noticed as well in that chart is the fact that the integration of loyalty marketing into the company's main strategy remains one of the top challenges for companies before and even for the next 3 years. So loyalty, I say loyalty should always be like a global project for companies. It involves all parties from the top, and the lack of C-level engagement can often explain the failure of loyalty strategies. So it is a challenge to fully integrate loyalty marketing into the main strategy if teams don't have the full support of the company. And that's even more true, we'll see, with companies planning to launch their program. But the good news, if we can say, is that this challenge has slipped from the first to the second place. So hopefully this trend will continue, and we'll have more and more C-level and executive that will fully understand the full potential of loyalty programs.
All right, thank you very much. You just talked about the full support from the company to launch a loyalty program, and actually our next survey question is related to that in the poll. So let me launch another poll here. On which level does your company discuss customer loyalty? Select one of the followings. Is it on the company level, or is it on the team level, like marketing team or customer support team, wherever the owner of the loyalty program is? I see that the numbers are already coming in. So nice to see these numbers changing, but yes, it kind of stopped around. Let me show you where. I will share the results now. So at 20 or 64% of the respondents, the loyalty program is discussed on the company level, and then so at 36%, the loyalty program is discussed on the team level. All right, let's go back to the actual slides. And it's very similar, what you just said, to what we learned in the report, because at 66% of loyalty program owners, the loyalty program and loyalty marketing have an important impact on strategic decisions. It's discussed on the company level. And there is another number here that 62% reported that their loyalty program helped to keep customers engaged during the COVID-19 crisis. So here I'm asking Maciej, Andreanne, maybe starting with Andreanne, what is that you experience, how loyalty programs performed during the crisis?
Yeah, we see that companies that are offering a loyalty program before hitting any crisis have a great competitive edge for many reasons. First, I mean, they have built a relationship with their members through time. They have data on these customers as well. And these are very powerful things during a crisis. So if you have an audience that you know about, that you know their preferences, you know their habits, their needs, and that audience is already captive, then in this case, like, companies know about their most valued customers, and they're being able to engage with them, which make a very big difference during crisis, and even up after, so rising up after the crisis. Plus, also what we see during crisis and during COVID is that behavior, like habits, change through customers, and they may very well be a bit more sensitive about their spending. So the rewards that are earned can actually also ease the pressure on the wallet by providing some savings. So it also creates a higher retention.
Yeah, all makes sense. Maciej, what is your experience?
Well, from my perspective, actually, loyalty has been one of the most important tools in the marketing and to deal with all of the challenges arising during the COVID crisis. We even used to call the situation a war on traffic, because a number of companies, due to the profile, due to the limited mobility of people, were losing simply the touch with their customer base, while the other ones, they were facing tremendous inflow of we call them typically nomadic customers, just pop to the shopping and then disappear. So the loyalty was a perfect measure to work with both of the groups. The first one being, we can communicate with you, we can stay relevant, we can address you, anyhow, and we can simply stay in touch, and we can try to activate you to bring the traffic back. But also for the consumers who are having that inflow of nomadic customers, that was also one of the perfect news. Hey, we know that it's heavy right now, that there's a lot of traffic, the shipping is slower, there are no slots for delivery, but you are the loyal group. We can take care of you. We will service you better anyhow. And apart from that, so it's just managing the customer base, quick gathering of the insights. So where are we heading? Just as a fundamental basis to take any business decisions. Plus, apart from that, it's the most efficient communication channel. You cannot have window shopping. Well, linear TV is decreasing. So typically the apps or any other type of communication that you'll be having with customers, that was the tool that actually was, in my opinion, and what I've seen from a number of companies, delivering. And what is relevant, it still is delivering probably the highest ROI from any communication and customer activation. And that will stay with us for a longer period of time.
All right. It's nice that you were talking about ROI, because there was one other thing that we found in the survey, that tiers perform very well. And here you can see that throughout COVID-19, members in a higher tier level had a 29% higher visit frequency than those members who are in lower tiers. And there is another number, which is the most important, I think. Tiered program owners reported 1.8x higher ROI compared to those who don't offer tiers. So for some reason, tiers are very attractive, and I have my theories, but I will let you, Maciej, tell what is that your opinion, why tiers are so much impactful.
Well, if you think about it, a lot of consumers, but also a lot of companies think in terms of loyalty. It's tiering. It's all about getting new privileges. So it's like chasing the rabbit, or it's moving forward through the progression ladder. But what the tiers are giving to the consumers is actually giving the feeling of exceptionality, of getting a little bit extra service, of getting all of that now tremendously booming privileges related to customer experience. But on the other hand, we've seen a number of problems, because tiers may also make the program more complicated, because you really have to think in terms of the privileges or the other benefits that you're going to give, and typically more discount or cash rewards. That doesn't work. And additionally, is draining the profitability. So what we've seen is that a lot of companies are struggling in definition. So what should be the difference between our tiers? What should be the additional rewards to make it really achievable? And the other reason why tiering is particularly relevant, because once you get to specific status, once you achieve a specific goal, you're afraid of losing that. You're afraid of rolling back, and that's been a lot of work and a lot of loyalty programs going, especially tiered loyalty programs going through the way. Okay, so how do we make people to maintain their statuses, etc., etc. So what I would say, what is the most relevant when you think about tiering? First of all, think well, who should deserve it? Because the inflation of tiers is one of the worst traps that can happen in your loyalty program, because that's too much giveaways then to all of the customer base. And if there's inflation, you either have to come up with new tiers. And the other one is really make sure how you want to differentiate the tiers. So actually there would be aspirational, and people would like to stick to them and really would enjoy achieving the benefits that they have achieved.
All right. As just you mentioned, one of the best ways to differentiate is going beyond transactions. And our last poll question is related to that I'm just launching now. And the question here is, and please cast your vote if you want it, of course, do you reward customers for non-transactional interactions like friend referrals, reviews, or even working out? Just an example from one of our clients, Bergzeit, which is a German mountain wear retailer. They reward if you go out and climb a mountain with the help of a Strava integration that our technology connects with. And then this really is a great example, and I think that's the future of loyalty, when the interaction is going beyond the shop, beyond purchasing, beyond the transaction, and it's really in the free time of the person, and they are very happy that they haven't only just climbed the mountain, but they also receive some benefits from Bergzeit in this example. Right, I see the numbers are coming in, so I'm closing the poll and sharing the results. 37% of the people who responded do reward customers for non-transactional interactions, and 43% plans, and there is 20 who doesn't plan and doesn't reward customers for such non-transactional activities. All right, let's go back to these slides. And this will tell us some numbers from the survey that we learned. Here, 77% of program owners who don't reward non-transactional behavior just yet, they said that they want to do so in the future. And 53% specified that their program would be more emotional than rational. That's, again, those companies who plan to launch a loyalty program. When it comes to these non-transactional engagement, both on the reward side and the interaction side, what do you think, Andreanne? What are the best practices on the market?
Yeah, we see it. We see the numbers here, and we've seen the numbers from the respondent. It's definitely like a growing trend, and a loyalty program are a relevant way to engage with customers, and then keeping customer invested with the brands between the transactional moment has an impact on retention, and we also see an impact on customer lifetime value. So we see on the market that there's a growing interest for rewarding customer outside of the buying cycle. And I'd say that with technology, it's even more simple now for companies to engage with customer on these non-transactional interaction. We can think of simple things like we were saying just now, like rewarding or writing product reviews, like downloading or engaging with the app, for example. They're a great example to start, great way to start. But we see also that with connected device and even other technology, it's possible to engage across all channels and even on everyday life. So it could be, you have to think a bit outside of the box. It could be through learnings experience, for example, through product usage, through social interaction, or even like engaging in community points donation, for example. So there's a lot of way for companies to engage and reward these interactions. But I'd say that one takeaway for companies who want to start rewarding non-transactional engagement is really to identify what touch points are really meaningful to their customer to engage with them. They can ask their customer what their preferences, what their behaviors are, look at the data to decide that. And I would say that there's also great insight on this subject on the report. So we see here the list of non-transactional, like emotional behavior that we've reported in the report. You want to go over, Zsuzsa, on explaining these? I think she might have lost it.
Yeah, so let me do something like to add a little bit on the non-transactional involvements. And if you think about loyalty, it's about two things. It's about keeping customers engaged and development of habits. So these are the two values and the two areas that you're focusing on. And of course, all of the brand interactions are a part of development of habits. So what we see in successful programs, the ones that really care about the engagement, is that they're linking as many activities, as many interactions with the brand as you can have. And that can be also gathering any type of points, progressions, or anything for discussing with customer service, for doing any other favors for the brand, for filling in the questionnaire or something that simply keeps you connected to the brand. On the other hand, when you start to observe that KPIs, it's one of the first pre-indicators of potential churn. If person is not willing to open emails, not willing to contact the customer service, participate in dedicated actions, that might be indicators of the potential churn coming. And apart from that, of course, there's this big trend of getting the additional marketing and communication through the social media. The only element which I see that is popular in the study, and I'm having the biggest problem with, is the consumer bring consumer or bring friends to the program, due to one thing, that it has to be done in a very smart way, not only on financial incentives, because that typically, especially in some regions of the world, that typically results in fraud and a lot of dead souls in the system. So whenever you're thinking about introduction such a feature, make sure that it's something fun. Make sure that you can cross-check it, and make sure simply that you're automatically monitoring the performance of the people gathered in such a way.
All right, and this was already an actionable insight, which brings us to this second part of our conversation now, which is about top 3 ways to take action. And one of the ways is actually connected to what you can share, Maciej. So that is learning how to collect and leverage zero and first party data. If this presentation will get there.
Yes, it's
okay, here we are.
Right, so the thing is, first of all, we know that the future, well, the future of loyalty is all about personalization. It's about staying relevant and addressing the customer in a proper way. Proper way means proper offer, proper way of communicating, proper frequency. And when we're looking at the way how companies are addressing that, there's a lot of thought and time being spent. Also, how do we develop the algorithms? How do we segment the customers? And then how do we personalize? But the truth is that algorithms are becoming more and more popular, and there's a lot of elements that you can use. The biggest challenge that the companies are having is actually collection and integration of data, the data that would be reliable, that would be having some business insights and hypotheses with that. And of course, typically the first party data, so your transactional past and the past of any other interactions with the brand, that's something which is very useful because that's helping to discover the patterns. But also, a lot of companies are underestimating the importance of something what we would be calling zero-party data. So actually the things that the customers want to tell you about yourself. Because if the personalization is done the proper way, they're getting more and more benefits. So in what they're interested, what they don't like, any type of scoring or saying, okay, I like this offer or I didn't like this offer, or that's what I'm interested in, that's what I'm not interested in, etc., etc. There's adding tremendous value. Of course, you can try to estimate it via presenting various offers and then running conjoint similar type of analytics, but that's very complicated. And typically zero-party data helps you with that. And of course, we cannot forget about all the other sources of enrichment. If you go from financial institutions, credit card payments, social media, etc., etc. So if there's something that I wanted you to remember from this slide, that personalization is not the future. Personalization is now, and that's a standard. Any developed loyalty program is having some elements of personalization because that's exactly what customers are expecting. And when you're thinking about the personalization, think first of all about the data and how to use it, get a proper use case, think what can be relevant for the customers. It's not just about algorithms. It's way more about what we collect, how we process that, how we get insights, and actually how do we convert them into actions and actionable campaigns. So it's still a lot of work to be done for humans, for people who are coming with creative content, based on all of the insight that they can generate. And that's typical, the biggest challenge for companies which are starting with personalization. Don't rely solely on tech. Have people to work with that, understand, plan, test, experiment, and make the future happen.
Excellent. The second point that we wanted to share with you as an actionable insight is that you should start looking into emotional loyalty, because that is really the future. Andreanne, please explain why do we think that?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So, I mean, first, let's say that the concept and even the psychology of loyalty is both emotional and rational. It always has been. So loyalty involves both sides of the brain. The rational side is linked to the financial rewards. So the points, the value of my points, the value of my rewards, what am I saving with that loyalty program? So that's very rational. And I don't want to say it's not important, because it is a very important part of loyalty. It's kind of the foundation, I would say. But on the other side are the emotions, the emotional side, the feelings. And we see that members want to be recognized. So company can now start looking at their loyalty program and ask themselves, like, how does it feel to be a member of my program? Like, do I feel special, or do I feel valued? And that's the emotional side talking. So we see here with the numbers that when we ask current program owners about how they perceive their loyalty program, only 21% of them actually said that their program are perceived as being more emotional than rational. So although emotional loyalty is not a new concept, like I was saying, their answers showed us that there are many programs on the market that lack emotional engagement. They may be very strong at talking to the rational side of the brain, but less on the emotional engagement. So companies can shift that. They can shift their loyalty strategy to be more emotional and make their customer feel special in many different ways. And to do so, they should first look at what kind of soft benefit they can offer. And we're not talking here about hard goods or anything. It's the soft benefits, the special privileges, the VIP access and events, like input on product and services, any of the money can't buy experiential rewards that are unique to the brand. So we were sharing just earlier the list of some of the top ways to reward customer beyond the transactional side. So these were great example on how can companies actually can make their customer feel special. And then I would add to this that imagine when a member is sharing these experiences online, or if they're shared that with their friends and colleagues, like everybody around them will actually see how they're special to the brand. And this is very strong to build emotional loyalty. So of course, like not every customer can be a VIP. We've already talked about the benefits of tiered program. So there's emotional rewards that can be offered to all the customers, but tiers are a great way to start when you want to implement experiential rewards, because you clearly define who are your most valuable members, and then you start offering them personalized rewards, benefit, and special experiences. So I'd say that one takeaway here, if we go back to our initial numbers, is 21% of the current program owner classify their program to be more emotional. But on the other side, 53.6% of companies that are planning to launch their loyalty program in the next 2 years, they envision their program to be more emotional. So it's kind of a radical shift that we're seeing here. And I would say that it leaves current program owner a couple of years to balance their loyalty strategy to address both rational and emotional side of loyalty. Because definitely if there's an increase in emotional loyalty, it's the combination of both rational and emotional that works best in loyalty.
And this brings us to our last slide, basically from the before the Q&A, which is ensuring a great omnichannel experience. Omnichannel is around for forever. I think it was 2014 or 15 when I saw these in conferences in big screens that omnichannel is the way to go. Now we see that yes, of course, it's omnichannel, but in so many ways, it's still very difficult to get there. And a loyalty program can contribute to your organization's omnichannel experience by introducing these new touch points. Here on the right, we put here some examples of omnichannel touch points. When there is like NFT rewards or influencer campaigns, gamification, VIP treatment, safe behavior, meaning rewarding safe behavior, because now loyalty programs with the help of technology can do that. If you don't exceed the speeding limit, that's something that a loyalty program can also reward in case of, for example, insurance companies, or learning. If you learn about the brand, then that can also be rewarded. So we think that the next step for omnichannel loyalty programs is that they really should think of how to make it emotional rethinking strategy, and then technology can support that. It's not the first thing. First thing is thinking about the customer experience and rethinking strategy. So that was it, I would say, about the content that we wanted to share with you. So that's your cue. If you wanted to leave now, please feel free, because I'm sure that your time is very much valuable. But if you wanted to stay for the Q&A, then please stay and also ask your questions. There are two ways to share your questions with us. Let me see here in the right. You can use this little window where you can send us your questions, and we will be happy to answer these. Let me see which are these. All right, we just stop sharing our screen. Yes. And oh yeah, there were so many people commenting where they are from the beginning of the call. South Africa, Toronto, Montreal. Also nice, excited to join the session. England. But anyway, let's go to the questions. The first is that Sarah asks, in your report, do you have findings about ROI, revenue, or other financial results of running a loyalty program? Andreanne, I think you are the best person to answer this question.
Yeah, that's a very good and interesting question. We do have findings on ROI. So we've asked current program owners if first they were tracking any ROI, because we know that there's companies that offer loyalty program but are not tracking their ROI. And then we wanted also to measure to what level the ROI, what does it bring in terms of ROI, their loyalty program. So what we've seen is that only a third, so just under 33% of companies are actually tracking their ROI. So it's I would say it's a little bit disappointing, because we should be increasing that number. We hopefully see that number increasing, because loyalty is trackable and measurable in all ways. But the good news is that out of that 33% of companies who are tracking their ROI in loyalty, there's 93% of those that reported a positive ROI. So that's a very good number, very high number. I'm glad to see that. And then we've noticed as well on tiers, and I think you were showing that just earlier, Zsuzsa, we've noticed that tiered program have an even higher 1.8 times higher ROI than traditional non-tiered programs. So that's very interesting there. So there's a lot of findings in the report on ROI and additional information that can be found in there.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I could add one thing to the topic of ROI, because that's the most frequently met question coming from the board. So what is the ROI of our program, or what will be the ROI? And the point is, don't think about one ROI of the whole program, because the program is having so many interactions with your consumers. So check about the conversion rates, check about the efficiency of every single campaign, etc. The overall ROI of loyalty program, when it's measured, it really has to be broken down to a series of KPIs that you're having across the whole customer journey. So that's probably the only way to actually really see. Just don't look at the numbers on aggregate. As always, any insight comes from granular data. And of course, you can compare the non-loyal versus loyal customer base, the one using hashed credit cards versus the ones in your loyalty program. This would be giving insight, but break it down to specific KPIs and actions that drive the overall commercial growth.
And that's a very good point, because we've talked a lot about engagement, like customer engagement, and it's always a little bit harder to get an ROI on that. So that's a very good point to track that as well and look at other KPIs. Yeah.
All right. And there is a question coming among the questions, which is related to here. What do you use for long-term measurement on return of loyalty investment? So what do you think? Which is like a short-term measure or long-term measure? Is there anything that are different between the two, Maciej or Andreanne?
I mean, short-term measure, that's campaigns, and that's actions, and that's a launch of a new interface or a new app or a new feature. And if you're thinking about loyalty, you always have to think in mid-term or long-term with all the customer lifetime value, et cetera, et cetera. So of course, as much as you have to be short-term focused for analytics of the campaigns, actions, activation strategies that you're using, because simply that's the only way to learn whether the things you're doing are right or working or not. It's all about measuring the customer lifetime value, the value of data that you're having, and the potential that you're generating with that. So loyalty is long-term by design.
Yeah, and I would add in the KPI and the metric to track on that as well is we're talking a lot about comparing spending between members and non-members, but most of the time it can be a challenging KPI, because we'll say that most of the time, engaged customers will be actually spending more. So it's obvious that members are spending more than non-members. So you can also look at incremental you get from members, like the prior and the after once they get member, or through time as well. So comparing member data to non-members data, but also member data within the program itself to see the incremental revenue.
Excellent. I'm just going through these questions that you posted here. It's just so many questions. I'm trying to pick the most relevant ones, or relevant meaning that which helps the most people, but keep sending these questions because we will definitely answer them in email if we don't get the chance to answer them here. So next question is that what can you tell us about top challenges and priorities from businesses that are in the process of launching their loyalty program? Is this any different from the perspective of those who already launched theirs? Maciej, maybe can you take this question?
Well, of course, the challenges arise as you go, because if the loyalty is always in the constant evolution, that's a thing that's creating new challenges. Though what we've seen, the pressure, what used to be the biggest challenge in the previous year versus what is the challenge of this year, that changed. It's more about generating data and gathering data as it used to be, of staying relevant, of being able to work with the consumers, with the insights, and still activate them despite the distance that's being developed between the brands and consumers. But I wanted to add one more point to that. And whenever you're starting a loyalty program or your established loyalty program, there's the constant friction inside of the organization. So it's always a dilemma whether the loyalty program should be based in marketing, sales, or perhaps IT, because there's the tech solution. So it's always the way when we see what the winning programs are having. Therefore, I believe it's a big challenge for a number of organizations where to place it. And only if you can create a true cross-disciplinary team, that's one of the ways of assuring that your loyalty program will be beneficial, because you need to have direct access to IT, to talk with marketing, to be able to generate the campaigns and long-term planning, but also to sales, to assure that the operations are flowing in. So what I would be saying, the biggest challenge, apart from the market-related challenges, which we mentioned in the beginning and are covered in the report, is make sure that you have a proper team which is properly reporting in the organization and is not fully influenced just by one department.
And then our next question from AC comes, which is related to loyalty program governance, I think, which is very much related here. And Andreanne, it would be great if you could have a look in the report, but maybe you know these numbers by heart. It's very possible. Any insights or best practices you can share from your research on loyalty program governance? Because we found that mainly it's with marketing team. It's with marketing teams, but marketing teams very much try to be independent from IT, and they are aware that during the launch of a loyalty program, which can take from 3 months to a year or sometimes even more time, they will be very dependent on IT, and it's an IT project. But on the long run, they want to run a loyalty program where they don't need the help of IT. Andreanne, can you share some numbers related to that from the report?
Yes, yeah. So top of mind, what we have here, we've asked these questions because we know it's always been a challenge to launch loyalty programs for both marketing and IT teams. So we've asked them, how dependent are you on the IT team? We asked marketing how they're dependent on the IT team, and they seem to be fairly dependent when managing their loyalty program. And we know it's a collaborative work. They have to work together, but at some stage you need to have some kind of independence to be able to do your day-to-day work. So what we actually found here, and let me just dig into this, is that 76%, that's the number I was looking for. So 76% of respondents, for companies who are actually managing a loyalty program, they plan to either equip their marketing team or give them the right tools or revisit the processes as well to reduce dependency on IT teams, to be able to provide the independence of working on a daily basis with the program without being too dependent basically on IT team. Yeah.
All right, the next question comes. Can you give some pointers for loyalty technology in case someone is trying to revamp their loyalty scheme? Well, it's a very nice question, and I'm happy to answer it as I'm a co-founder of a loyalty vendor. And from our experience, the benefit of going with a loyalty technology that is a vendor provided by a third party and not developed internally is that it's specialized and it's kept being developed. So we will never stop developing our loyalty software because this is our core focus, but your IT team internally may stop because they will be busy with so many other things. So that would be, I think, the first pointer that I would give. The second is that there is a big trend these days, which the IT teams very much like, and that's loyalty technology should be headless. What headless means? Headless means that there are APIs, which are the endpoints of the loyalty software. So you can use it like anyhow on any kind of front end. Just to give you an example, we have clients in China who are using our technology, and they built a WeChat mini app on the top of it, and their customers are interacting through the WeChat mini app. Or there are others who built a mobile app on the top of our technology, and there are others who wired this into their online store. That's more like a natural use case. So some use mobile passes to identify customers in the store, or some are connected with the POS, or just as I mentioned, this Strava integration with the Bergzeit loyalty program where you are rewarded for working out. So this is possible because our loyalty technology is very, very much flexible thanks to being headless. And when you are thinking of choosing a vendor, there are not only Antavo who is headless, because there are many others, but you may think of using a headless solution. No-code is another important pointer, I would say, because having a no-code platform means that there are workflows that you can edit without an IT team who would do that for you. So marketing teams can be more independent in their way of working. They will not need to rely on the IT team or the account manager of a provider who would provide the loyalty program. So I would say specialized, headless, and no-code are the 3 pointers that I would give if someone is looking for a loyalty technology. And here comes a question from Madden, which is connected to this, that most POS solutions come with loyalty solutions. So what is the benefit of standalone loyalty solutions? I would say that POS is limited for the in-store experience. Once you want to go browse and think of which is outside of the buying cycle, what is online, then this is when it comes to be a very important factor to use a specialized solution. All right, let me see some others. There were a question which was connected to paid loyalty programs. I'm trying to find it, and I will ask you, Andreanne, to to think of an answer. I would like to have your perspective on the future of fee-based loyalty programs, which are paid loyalty programs. Luke asks this. What do you think, Andreanne?
Yeah, it's definitely something that we see growing on the market. So there's more and more paid programs that are being launched. And what we see that's interesting as well, it's in all kind of industries. And so that's very interesting because it's not just in retail that we see that, and not only in services as well. So we have a new kind of businesses that we would not expect to have a paid program, launching paid program right now. And there's we've just briefly asked a few questions on that on the report. But what's interesting that we saw is there's I'd say higher potential or higher performance of paid program when they are combined with traditional free loyalty program. So it address all customers in this case. So the free loyalty program will address your good customer, like the mass customer, and some of your best as well. And then there's a small percentage of customers that will be willing to pay. And then the paid program can add additional benefits. We were talking about giving additional value and experiential rewards and rewarding outside of buying cycle. So doing that through a paid program and creating added value to paid membership or subscription is really, it could be a very interesting way to go. And I really trust that combining both program is the way I think that most companies are heading, and I think it's the best way to have the greater impact on retention and on ROI too.
All right. I think we still have 5 minutes of this call, and it's so nice to see that most of the people who are attendees in this call stayed for the Q&A. So I would say let's use this remaining 5 minutes to answer more questions. Rosalia is asking, is there any sample of best loyalty programs to practice? And she's also asking also for the retail industry. Maybe we shouldn't go into details around this because it's included in the report. Very good news. One of the chapters is entirely about the best loyalty programs, which the survey respondents are looking at. We identified these 5 because we asked that which is the loyalty program that you are looking at, which is the most inspiring for you. So it's also there in the report, and we can also send you some material about best practices because we have a lot around this.
I could add one thing on that. If you think about the best loyalty programs, the best one is that works for you, and the best one is that you can manage. So we see very frequently that our customers are looking into a number of well-developed and well-established programs, and they are trying to copy the number of functionalities without understanding that it took a company and the program a path to develop them. So I mean, always start with something simple, get to know your customers, and then build on that, build on that, build on that. That's exactly referring to the topic of the constant evolution of loyalty, which I was trying to mention in the beginning of our meeting today. So the best one is the one that will work for you. There's nothing like a loyalty program that you can copy one-to-one and will work for your customer base.
Maciej, again, maybe this one for you too. Do you think a product manager rather than marketing would be the correct role to manage the execution of a loyalty program? Tony asks this. So should it be like a product manager rather than marketing to manage the execution of a loyalty program?
I think it should be a loyalty manager, simply. So somebody who's addressing all of the efforts to loyalty and is getting the idea of the overall marketing plan and is getting the insights from marketing, but also has a proper set of analytical background or analyst in their team to derive insights, measure everything, and operational people to develop campaigns. Because the way, for example, how I'm thinking about loyalty, it's not loyalty anymore. It's more like a customer activation and acquisition center or a hub. So what you always have to think about loyalty is yet another channel of sales, yet another channel supporting other channels, and yet another channel of a perfect communication. And if you start to have that roles given to the loyalty program, I would say that you need a loyalty manager. And of course, you can be having product managers in manufacturing companies or category managers in various types of retailing. They can be running their programs, but on the other hand, it's quite a lot of work to run a well-designed and engaging loyalty program and loyalty platform. So you can be mixing that functions, but in the end, once the program grows, you would need to have somebody who's taking the lead, but also having the responsibility, because if the responsibility is diluted, then of course it's never executed.
All right. Oh, someone is asking, Terry is asking, how do we get a copy of the report? It's an excellent question. Thank you for asking that. In 1 hour, you will receive it into your mailbox alongside with the recording of this webinar. And then you will be free to share wherever you want to within your organization or with your clients. And then we will publish it on our website tomorrow. So you have this early access now because you signed up for this webinar. And then hopefully you will hear from the loyalty industry about this report. I really hope. And also there is another question, which is very nice to receive. Is there going to be a similar report next year? Yes, we plan to do such a report next year, and we would like to track the changes around these questions that we measured, and we would like to do this like forever, basically. So hopefully this will be like a recurring report. We've received so many other questions, and it's such an honor to receive these questions. Thank you very much. We didn't have the chance to answer all of these just because the time is limited, but I promise that we will get back to you about this, each one by one. So thank you very much for these questions. And I would like to ask to have our screen back now for this last page to thank you for attending. You will receive this report in an hour, and I would like to thank Maciej and Andreanne also for helping putting together the report and having this webinar with all of us here today.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, great pleasure.
Brilliant. So thank you also all these hundreds of you attending. It was an honor to be here with you and looking forward to hear your opinion about the report itself. So please, when you receive this email, just feel free to hit reply or reach out to us in any way, because we are very excited to see what you think of the report. We think that it's like great numbers and it turned out to be beautiful too. So very much looking forward to hear what you think of it. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.